Welcome back to my channel. The gavel slams against polished wood. Cameras erupt. Flashes blind the room. And there he is, Kody Brown. Once the proud face of America's most celebrated plural marriage, now just another man sitting at the defense table, charged with fraud, betrayal, and a secret that could strip him of everything. But as the evidence begins to unfold, one question drowns out every other voice in the room. Will Kody walk free? Or will his empire crumble in chains? The heavy wooden doors of the Arizona courthouse creak open, and the outside world changes. Dozens of camera crews rush forward, microphones shoved into faces, reporters screaming in a frenzy. Kody, do you have anything to say? Christine, are you ready to confront him? Paparazzi flashes explode like lightning across the courthouse steps. And then suddenly, silence. The kind of silence that comes before a storm. Inside courtroom 4B, the reality TV patriarch wasn't about to face a tabloid headline. He was about to face something far greater, the truth. This time it wasn't about broken marriages or falling ratings. This wasn't about who wore the pants in the Brown family. This was about land, money, power, and betrayal. Kody Brown, the golden-haired husband from TLC's Sister Wives, sits rigid, gripping the defense table so tightly his knuckles turn bone white. He scans the courtroom desperately, searching for allies. But they are gone. And then his eyes land on the prosecution bench. Christine Brown, jaw tight, eyes sharpened like steel. Beside her, Janelle leans forward, whispering something bitter, pulling a flicker of a smile from Christine. At the far end, Mary sits still, cold, unmoving, like a statue carved from stone. But Robin? Kody's last and only wife? She is nowhere to be seen. Some whisper she stayed home. Others murmur she's hiding in the shadows, waiting for her cue. The murmurs grow. The judge enters. A man with a beard of steel and eyes like knives. His voice cuts the air in half. Court is now in session. The state of Arizona versus Kody Brown. Gasps ripple across the gallery like sparks from a fire. The charges rain down like hammer blows. Fraud, concealment of assets, misrepresentation of property, violation of marital financial trust. Kody's face floods crimson. He shakes his head violently, muttering curses under his breath. But the jury isn't watching his lawyer. They're watching him. The twitch of his jaw, the restless rise and fall of his chest. And then the prosecution strikes. Marissa Caldwell, a tall, commanding woman with the presence of a storm, steps forward. Her heels crack like gunfire on the polished floor. She holds a thick file in her hand, pages shining under the fluorescent lights. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, she begins, her voice sharp, steady, unshakable. This is not a tale of jealousy, not a story of a marriage in ruin. This is a story of deception, of wealth hidden in shadows, of women robbed of the futures they were promised. Her finger shoots toward Kody. He flinches. The man you see before you built an empire on the illusion of love. But in secret, he schemed for himself. For property that was not his. For money that was never meant to be hoarded. The gallery stirs. Christine's jaw locks harder. Janelle gives the faintest nod. Mary does not move, but her hands clench in her lap. Then the evidence begins to fall, piece by piece. First, a deed. Kody's signature sprawled arrogantly across the page. But the fine print revealed the truth. Ownership of a prime slice of Coyote Pass secretly transferred into a trust. One that named only Kody and Robin as beneficiaries. The courtroom gasps. Christine goes pale. Janelle's mouth clamps shut, fighting to keep from screaming. Next, bank statements. Accounts opened in Robin's name. Deposits flowing directly from Kody. Withdrawals, wire transfers, stacks of money that, by law, belonged to every wife, but were funneled into Robin's private vault. Objection, Your Honor. Kody's lawyer bellows. Overruled. The judge's voice booms. And then, the final blow. A recording. Kody's voice, sharp and unmistakable, fills the room. I just need to make sure Robin and I are safe. The others, they'll fend for themselves. They always do. Christine's jaw trembles, eyes burning with fury. Janelle whispers, unbelievable. Mary does not move, but one silent tear cuts down her cheek. The jury shifts uncomfortably. The gallery murmurs like a wave threatening to crash. The judge slams the gavel. Order, but order is gone. Control is slipping, and Kody Brown's mask is cracking. As recess is called, Christine, Janelle, and Mary rise. Kody remains frozen in his chair, staring at the empty seat where Robin should have been. Deep inside, he knows this is not a trial. This is an unraveling. And when the gavel strikes again, Christine Brown, the woman who once stood silently at his side, will rise as the first witness against him. Her heels click like war drums as she approaches the stand. She places her hand on the Bible. Her voice does not waver. I do. The reckoning has begun. I do. The reckoning has begun. The words they always do hung in the air like a curse. A ripple of gasps moved across the courtroom, a sound soft yet electric, like wind sweeping through dry leaves before a storm. The judge's gavel slammed down, the crack echoing off the wooden walls like thunder. Order, order in the court. But there was no order. Not really. Christine sat on the witness stand, her hands trembling ever so slightly, but her eyes locked firmly on Cody. She wasn't blinking. She wasn't wavering. She was staring directly into the face of the man who had defined and destroyed so many years of her life. And Cody's mask was finally slipping. His jaw flexed, nostrils flaring, his lips curling into something that wasn't a smile, wasn't even anger. It was desperation. The charm, the television husband persona, the smile America once believed, dissolved like sand slipping between clenched fists. The prosecutor allowed herself the faintest smile. Christine had delivered the blow she wanted. No further questions at this time. The defense attorney rose slowly. Martin Hale. His reputation preceded him. A courtroom predator. A silver-tongued lawyer who could shred witnesses with nothing more than a smile and a question. His suit was immaculate, his hair slicked back like steel. Every step he took toward Christine was deliberate, like a lion circling its prey. He paused before the jury, letting them watch his performance, then turned his gaze toward Christine with a faint, predatory grin. Mrs. Brown, he began, his voice smooth as honey, sharp as glass. You've been separated from my client for some time now, correct? Christine's lips pressed together. Yes. And your feelings toward him? They're not exactly warm, are they? A bitter laugh escaped her throat. That's one way to put it. So it would be fair to say, you could be biased? Christine leaned forward, her voice cutting like a blade. Biased? No, not biased. I am finally free to speak. That's the difference. For 25 years, I was gagged, silenced. Now I'm free. And freedom is not bias. The gallery gasped. Pens scratched furiously across notepads. Even a few jurors glanced at one another, eyes wide. Hale's smile faltered. But only for a moment. He pressed on. Of course. And isn't it true that after you left my client, you gave interviews, wrote blogs, cashed in on your version of events? Christine's eyes narrowed, but her voice was steady, even cold. Yes, I told the truth. And I'll keep telling it. Because truth is the only weapon I have against a man who silenced me for decades. The room broke again. Gasps, murmurs, whispers swelling until the judge's gavel cracked down once more. Order! The defense attorney's smile wilted. His performance was unraveling. And tell me, Hale pressed, voice tightening, would you not benefit financially if my client were convicted? Would you not stand to gain if this jury sides against him? Christine leaned forward so close the microphone caught the ice in her words. I would benefit if justice was finally served. If truth was finally seen. Money doesn't buy back decades of lies. It doesn't buy back my silence. It doesn't buy back my wasted loyalty. Justice does. The attorney froze, his papers rustling in his trembling hands. A few jurors nodded almost imperceptibly. The balance of sympathy had shifted. Christine wasn't weakened by the attack. She was sharpened by it. The judge called for recess. Christine descended from the witness stand, her face pale but proud, her back straight like steel. She passed by Cody without so much as a glance. But Cody couldn't look away. His eyes followed her retreating figure, rage and despair twisting across his face, visible to every juror in the room. And they saw it. Every flicker. Every fracture. Every crack in the mask. Christine sat back beside Janelle, her hand brushing against her friend's. The courtroom shifted. This was no longer about reality television, no longer about polygamy or confessionals. It was about power. And the moment that power slipped away. But Martin Hale wasn't finished. He couldn't be. His entire defense rested on dismantling Christine's credibility. And when the judge returned, his robe sweeping behind him like a dark cloud, the atmosphere thickened. All rise, the bailiff called. The courtroom stood. Everyone could sense it. The second round wasn't going to be testimony. It was going to be war. Hale buttoned his jacket slowly, deliberately, like a gunslinger loading his weapon. He called Christine back to the stand. "You understand you're still under oath?" he asked, his voice like poisoned honey. Christine lifted her chin. "I do." "Good," Hale purred, glancing toward the jury. "Because what we're about to do is separate fact from fiction." The air tightened. The jurors leaned forward. The gallery hushed. This was no longer testimony. This was combat. Or testimony. This was combat. The courtroom fell into a heavy, almost tangible silence. Every soul in the room seemed to hold its breath as the bailiff's voice boomed, "Call the next witness." A collective intake of air swept through the gallery. Everyone knew who was coming. Janelle Brown. Janelle rose from her seat, her expression an impenetrable fortress. Each step she took toward the witness stand was deliberate, measured, as if the floor itself feared her resolve. She wore a simple gray blazer, hair pulled back neatly, a quiet armor of professionalism and steel. The very air around her seemed to chill. Christine's fiery testimony had set the stage, but Janelle was ice, cool, composed, and deadly precise. She placed her hands neatly in her lap and took the oath, her eyes scanning the courtroom with a calm intensity that silenced whispers. Marissa Caldwell stepped forward, poised and unflinching. "Mrs. Brown," she began, voice steady, commanding attention. "How long were you married to the defendant?" "Almost 30 years, Janelle replied evenly. Her tone alone carried weight. "And during that time, were you responsible for the family finances?" Janelle tilted her head slightly, the faintest smirk tugging at her lips. Not from amusement, but from the confidence of someone who held secrets that could topple an empire. "I did the accounting," she said. "I wrote the checks. I knew where every dollar came from and where it was going." A shiver raced through the room. Even Martin Hale's pen paused midair. The realization was undeniable. If anyone knew Kody Brown's financial skeletons, it was Janelle. Marissa's lips curved faintly. "And what did you discover?" Janelle opened a slim, unassuming folder she had brought with her. Inside, neat stacks of bank statements, highlighted lines, and printed spreadsheets weighted like weapons. She handed the folder to the bailiff, who passed it to the judge. "These accounts," Janelle's voice rang out steady and cold, "were allegedly investment and tax accounts. But when I traced them, I found they were tied to shell companies, entities with no employees, no offices, only names." The gallery collectively gasped. Kody Brown's face went pale as chalk. Even the seasoned jury leaned forward instinctively. "And how much money are we talking about?" Caldwell pressed. "Over $250,000, Janelle stated without hesitation, each word landing like a hammer. The jurors murmured. The judge's gavel cracked, demanding silence, but the weight of the revelation lingered. Hale sprang to his feet. "Objection. Speculation. Overruled," the judge snapped. "This witness managed the books." Marissa pressed on. "Mrs. Brown, in your professional opinion, was Mr. Brown concealing assets from his own family?" "Yes," Janelle replied firmly, "and I can document it." From her purse, she produced a flash drive, the metal glinting under the harsh courtroom lights. On this drive are emails between Kody Brown and his financial advisor. In these messages, he outlines how to shield assets from the family if his marriages collapse. He calls it Plan B. Kody lurched forward, a growl escaping his throat. "That's personal correspondence." "Sit down, Mr. Brown," the judge's gavel snapped. The jury's gaze flitted from the flash drive to Kody, whose face burned red with fury and dread. Marissa smiled faintly. "Your Honor, we move for admission of these emails into evidence." "So admitted," the judge said. Kody slumped back, muttering silently to his attorney. Janelle remained calm, a hurricane contained in stillness. The tension in the room was palpable, as if the storm had finally found its voice. The judge declared a recess, his words slicing through the chaos. "Court will reconvene at 2 p.m. Reporters surged forward, cameras flashing wildly. Christine hugged Janelle briefly, tears mixing with resolve. Mary watched silently, her hands clasped, expression unreadable. The defense table, however, was a picture of collapse. Kody sat motionless, eyes darting, lips twitching, trapped in a web of his own making. After the lunch recess, the courtroom returned, but the atmosphere was transformed. The gallery buzzed like a hive, the anticipation electric. The media was live streaming every detail, viewers across the country hanging on each revelation. Kody Brown, once the golden patriarch, looked frayed and hollow in his navy suit, his jaw set, muttering to Martin Hale, who scribbled furiously at the defense table. The bailiff's voice resonated. "Court is back in session." The gavel slammed. Caldwell rose, strides deliberate, eyes sharp, holding the black flash drive like a key to a vault of secrets. "Your Honor, we submit Exhibit F," she announced, her voice echoing. A series of bank statements and email correspondence recovered through subpoena, directly tied to the defendant. Hale's protest rang sharp. "Objection! Taken out of context, prejudicial, overruled," the judge interrupted. The flash drive was loaded into the courtroom projector. The screen flickered to life. Black and white numbers, bank names, transfers, balances, each digit a testament to hidden transactions. Cody's name was everywhere. "These transactions," Caldwell explained, pointing to highlighted entries, span late 2019 to early 2021. During this period, the defendant claimed financial hardship to his family, yet these records show transfers to shell companies, entities with no employees, no offices, just names. The jury leaned forward. The gallery gasped as figures and dates were revealed. December 14, 2019, $75,000 wired to Sunrise Holdings, LLC. Another transfer of the same amount withdrawn from a family joint account. March 2, 2020, $50,000 into Robin Brown's personal account. "This is not earned income," Caldwell's voice sharpened, slicing the silence. "This is money taken directly from family funds. Money that should have been divided among all parties." Cody writhed, muttering under his breath, Hale restraining him. Each new number was another nail in the coffin. "Members of the jury," Caldwell continued, "these may seem like random transfers, but a pattern emerges." The screen transformed, red and blue bars stacking along a timeline. Red for withdrawals to Robin's account, blue for debts to joint funds. The pattern was unmistakable. Each blue withdrawal followed a red deposit within 24 hours. "This is laundering, shifting money to conceal ownership. And the man behind it all is right here." She pointed directly at Cody. The courtroom erupted. The gavel pounded for order, but the jury had seen the blueprint of deceit laid bare. Caldwell turned to Janelle. "Mrs. Brown, you supplied these emails?" "Yes," Janelle's voice was cold, resolute. "And how did I obtain them?" "The defendant left his family computer logged in. I simply found them." "He didn't secure them." "I didn't hack. I discovered." The jury leaned in, whispering in disbelief. The truth was out. Kody Brown had betrayed them in his own words. Janelle's eyes froze on him. "These emails show he never intended to share Coyote Pass, never regarded us as equals. He was planning his exit with Robin and was willing to destroy anyone who stood in his way." The judge glanced at the clock. "We will break for the day. Court resumes tomorrow at 9 a.m. The gavel slammed. Chaos erupted. Reporters swarmed Christine and Janelle. Cody sat pale, motionless, whispers from his attorney lost in his stunned silence. The jury had seen the evidence. The mask was gone. The next session promised the final reckoning. Cody himself would take the stand. His words now carried the weight of salvation or his final undoing. Salvation or his final undoing. Cody clutched the arms of the witness chair as if they were lifelines, each knuckle white, each movement hesitant. Martin Hale stepped forward, voice calm yet deliberate, a guiding anchor. "Mr. Brown, would you introduce yourself to the jury?" Cody coughed, his throat dry. "My name is Kody Brown. I was a husband in a plural marriage for over 25 years. A father to 18 children. I never meant to hurt my family." Some jurors nodded. Others stared with glassy detachment. Hale continued gently. "Mr. Brown, the prosecution has painted you as a manipulator, someone who hid money, broke trust. Tell the jury your truth." Cody inhaled deeply, chest rising and falling like a storm contained. "Truth is, I did what I had to do to protect my family. Plural marriage isn't normal. It isn't easy. Constant scrutiny, government, neighbors, church. Money shuffled around not to betray but to keep us safe." He wasn't just testifying. He was performing, attempting to summon the patriarch everyone remembered from the television shows. His voice tightened as he spoke, hunched forward. "Coyote Pass was meant to be our future, a legacy for my children. The notion that I'd take from Christine, Janelle, or Mary? Ridiculous. I sacrificed my time, my labor, and yes, I sacrificed more at the end because Robin remained loyal. She stayed when the others turned." A low murmur rippled across the gallery. Christine's jaw tightened. Janelle's arms crossed, eyes icy. Hale's expression remained measured. "So you're saying this wasn't fraud, it was protection?" "Yes, protection," Cody insisted, voice rising with faint desperation. "Every dollar I moved was to protect us, from taxes, creditors, those who wanted to see us fail." Hale gave a weak nod toward the jury. "No further questions, Your Honor." The air shifted as Marissa Caldwell rose, heels clicking sharply against the hardwood floor. She carried nothing but a single sheet of paper. Her gaze locked on Cody. "Mr. Brown," she said quietly, "you said you transferred money to protect your family. Correct?" "Yes." "And you told us Coyote Pass was always to be shared equally among your wives and children?" "Yes." Caldwell tossed the paper forward. "Then explain this email, September 2020. You instruct your advisor to establish a trust in Robin Brown's maiden name, excluding the other wives entirely." The email flashed on the screen. Cody's eyes darted nervously from the words to the jury. His voice cracked. "It was a suggestion, a draft." "I didn't mean not a draft," Caldwell cut in. "It was sent signed. The trust was formed. Isn't that correct?" Cody clenched his jaw. "It was formed, but it wasn't supposed to be permanent." "Permanent or not," Caldwell pressed. "It existed. And only Robin benefited. Correct?" "Yes," Cody admitted, swallowing hard. Caldwell leaned closer, voice low but cutting. "So, while you told Christine and Janelle Coyote Pass was fair, you had already carved them out. That's not protection. That's dishonesty." "No," Cody snapped. "They were ungrateful. They didn't stand behind me. Why should I continue giving to women who disrespected me?" Gasps erupted. Christine's hand flew to her mouth. Janelle shook her head, eyes blazing. Even Mary's usually composed face showed a flicker of sorrow. The jury scribbled furiously. Cody had shifted before their eyes, from protector to punisher. "Mr. Brown," Caldwell continued calmly, "did you threaten Christine that if she left, she'd get nothing?" Cody faltered. His gaze shifted to Christine, then to Caldwell. His lips opened, then closed. A growl escaped. "I might have said something like that." "You did say it," Caldwell stated, unflinching. "And you did it knowing she'd already been carved out of her claim. Correct?" Cody's face flushed crimson. "No, I was furious. She was betraying me. I didn't mean it, but it was done." Caldwell turned to the jury. "Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it. He threatened his wife with financial ruin to keep her in line. That is not protection. That is coercion." The courtroom buzzed like a hornet's nest. The gavel slammed repeatedly, but the damage was done. Cody's own words imprisoned him. Caldwell pressed further. "You claim loyalty is why you preferred Robin. Is that correct?" "Yes, she loved me. She remained loyal." "So, your financial choices weren't about fairness. They were about favoritism." Cody hesitated. "It was about stability. Stability for Robin, not the others." Silence fell. Caldwell's voice, measured yet chilling, cut through it. "This trial isn't about protection. It's about control. You controlled the money, the property. When Christine, Janelle, and Mary attempted to leave, you used that control as a weapon." Cody's fingers dug into the arms of the chair, knuckles white. "That's not true. They left me. They destroyed our family." His voice cracked, echoing across the quiet room. For the first time, Cody was no longer the patriarch. He was a man unraveling. Caldwell allowed the silence to linger before stepping back. "No further questions, Your Honor." Cody sat, chest heaving, scanning the jury for compassion, finding stone instead. Slowly, he shuffled back to the defense table, slumping as if the courtroom had become a tidal wave. Christine and Janelle exchanged grim, acknowledging glances. Mary lingered, eyes fixed on Cody, sorrow etched into every line of her face. The gavel fell. Court is adjourned. We will resume tomorrow with the next witness. Session 5 ended, not with triumph, but with the unvarnished collapse of Cody's mask. The next morning, the courthouse hummed with anticipation. Cameras flashed, whispers ricocheted across the hallways. Cody's posture was slumped, lips pale, eyes glazed. Then the prosecutor rose. "The state calls Mary Brown," she announced. Shock rippled through the gallery. Even Christine and Janelle stared, caught off guard. Cody's head snapped toward Mary, jaw clenched. The jurors leaned in. No one had expected Mary to testify. She rose slowly, composed yet firm, black jacket neat, hair tucked behind her ears. A serene weight hung over her, as if she had finally embraced the courage to speak. She took the oath, sat, and the courtroom held its breath. "Mrs. Brown," Caldwell asked gently, "you were the defendant's first wife?" "Yes," Mary responded quietly. "And for how long?" "Over 30 years. A buzz went through the jury. 30 years. A lifetime bound to the man sitting mere feet away. Caldwell pressed. Tell us in your own words about your experience with Mr. Brown regarding money, property, and trust. Mary inhaled slowly. Kody was always in charge, of the money, of everything. When we purchased Coyote Pass, I believed him, that it was ours. But when Robin entered the picture, the direction shifted. The discussion shifted. The vows had disappeared. Her tone was soft, almost resigned, but each word cut deeper than anger could. Caldwell inquired further. Did you witness him take money without permission? Mary's gaze dropped, fingers fidgeting. Yes, often. I didn't fight him like Christine or Janelle did. I knew how he'd react. And how would he react? Her eyes rose to meet Kody's. The courtroom tightened around the anticipation. I'd be lucky to be here at all. I'd have to stay quiet if I wanted to keep my place. Gasps echoed. Jurors scribbled furiously. Kody fidgeted, but Mary's eyes never wavered. You've said you were on the outside looking in. Explain that. Mary's voice cracked. I was the wife put on the shelf. Paraded when needed, ignored when decisions were made. Money, property, family milestones. I was a shadow. Caldwell allowed the silence to settle. Mary nodded. I stayed because I trusted him. I believed if I was faithful, there would be a future. But loyalty was never enough. The gallery sat in stunned silence, witnessing a life unravel in real time. Caldwell leaned back, letting the weight of Mary's testimony hang before asking softly, Mrs. Brown, explain the 2021 hospital incident referenced in your statement. Kody's head whipped toward her. Panic etched across his face. Mary closed her eyes briefly, then opened them with quiet resolve. Yes, 2021. Robin was sick. Kody was at the hospital late at night. I stopped by unannounced. I overheard him telling a nurse, Robin needs to be secure. The others will fend for themselves. Gasps reverberated through the gallery. Christine pressed her hand to her mouth. Janelle's lips thinned. The gallery. Christine pressed her hand to her mouth. Janelle's lips thinned. Anger burned in Mary's eyes. And when he saw me, her voice quivered, he just froze. He told me I must have misheard, that I was dreaming, but I wasn't. I knew the truth. I was already erased. Whispers surged through the gallery like wildfire. The judge slammed his gavel. Silence. That sentence, I was already erased, hung heavy like a hammer over Kody's head. The prosecutor leaned in. So, while your family thought they were equal partners, Mr. Brown was already securing everything for Robin? Mary's gaze sharpened. Yes, exactly that. Defense attorney Martin Hale rose, smoothing his jacket, his eyes cold. 30 years is a long time, Mrs. Brown. Isn't it possible your words are colored by resentment? By feeling replaced? Mary blinked slowly. Of course I felt replaced. Because I was replaced. But that doesn't make what I heard untrue. Hale pressed further. And yet you stayed married all those years. Why? Mary's voice became razor sharp. Because I loved him. Because I trusted him. Because I was scared to start over. None of that changes the truth, the courtroom murmured. Mary's pain wasn't just testimony. It was evidence etched into her life. Hale tried one last angle. Could you have misinterpreted what you overheard that night? No, she said firmly. I heard it. And the look on his face told me everything. He wasn't shocked I misunderstood. He was shocked I finally saw the truth. She stepped down, passing Kody without a glance. Mary, don't do this, he hissed under his breath. She didn't stop. She didn't flinch. The following morning, the courtroom was packed. Detective Elena Ruiz took the stand. We found a digital recorder in the defendant's home office, she stated. Among the files was one titled Family Future 2. The tape played. Kody's voice, unmistakable, cut through the room. Robin, listen. We need to protect what's ours. The others won't ever know what hit them. The rest, dead weight. Gasps echoed. Christine's hand flew to her lips. Janelle froze. Mary's eyes closed, tears streaming silently. The jury sat stunned. Kody's defense faltered. Objections were overruled. He shook his head, whispering, It wasn't supposed to get out. Christine returned to the stand. That's exactly who he was behind closed doors. Always saying, if you leave, you get nothing. Janelle added, The money trails, the transfers, the deception, it's all here. The jury had seen it. The truth spoke louder than any lie. Closing arguments came. Prosecutor Marissa Caldwell painted a stark portrait of betrayal. Loyalty repaid with theft, trust turned into deception, wives erased. Charts of transfers and secret accounts rose like mountains of deceit. Hale tried reason. Family is complicated. People say things in anger or fear. This is not fraud. Don't let resentment decide guilt. But the jury saw both the heart and the facts. The verdict, guilty on all counts. Cody collapsed into his lawyer's arms, whispering, They can't. Sentencing followed. 20 years in state prison, eligibility for parole after 12. Restitution initially $400,000, but then a bombshell. A newly discovered property, hidden under another trust, worth nearly $5 million. The gallery gasped. The restitution was raised to $5 million. Kody Brown, once the master of his reality TV empire, was now handcuffed, his power shattered. Christine, Janelle, and Mary emerged from the courtroom, faces etched with pain, grief, and vindication. Mary's tears were quiet but fierce. Christine's and Janelle's relief palpable. And somewhere unseen, Robin's silence spoke volumes. The verdict had ended the trial, but the story of betrayal, power, and truth would echo far beyond those courtroom walls.